Theo Vaughn is actually like insane if you really think about it. Because he said this quote one time on his podcast, and like the clip went mega, mega viral, right? If you know what I'm talking about, you're a G. But if you don't, the quote was, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I think instinctively we all know that, but not every one of us truly understands it, right? So if nothing changes, nothing changes, what does it mean? Well, no shit, man. If you don't change your habits now, well, you're not going to change your habits. Nothing's going to change. You're not going to stop smoking. You're not going to stop drinking. You're not going to stop scrolling, right? But until you make that final change, or that first change, really, it might seem like it's impossible to actually stop. Stop doing whatever it is that is holding you back. For me, where I go wrong, I know I'll scroll too much, right? And until I actually take that first step towards change, well, my exact situation will stay the exact same. So in order to combat this, right, because this is something that I've been struggling with as of late, right? In order to combat this, what I've done is literally take more action. And that was the change that I used. Because what happens is when you're scrolling too much, or when you're drinking too much, when you're smoking too much, when you're zinning too much, when you're eating too much, when you're doing anything that's not productive for you too much, you're in consumer mode. And let's be honest, being a consumer is very fucking addicting. The reason why is because it's cheap dopamine. Right? I mean, I just think I only have to move my thumb an inch. Move my thumb an inch to get instant dopamine from Twitter or Instagram. You know you're down bad if you're scrolling TikTok. Don't be ever doing that shit. But anyway, it's very easy to be a consumer because consumers have the easiest lives possible in the short term. The long term, it's massive, massive suffering. Like, for example, the guy who's addicted to McDonald's. Like, bro, in the short term, he's probably living the best life ever. But, you know, after a couple of months, I mean, realistically, even a couple of weeks of doing that, you're fucking cooked, man. Because not only is your dopamine fried, but you're fat. And now you've gotten into the habit of fucking overeating. Gluttony. Ah! Terrible. So, what I mean by more action, I'm a content creator, right? I'm an influencer. Not yet. I'm literally a YouTube nobody, right? But one day. Now, in order to go from consumer to producer, what I'm doing is posting a shit ton more content. A fuck ton more content. And realistically, I had to take a few days off because I needed to understand who I was speaking to, like who you are. Who is you on the other side of the screen right now? Because you know what? If I'm going to make content, I need to positively impact the other person watching this video. Because if I don't, then what the fuck's the point? What am I going to do? Make brain rot? Skibbity toilet type of content? No, fuck that. Right? I need to understand who I'm talking to. But I'm not going to understand who I'm talking to if, one, I don't think about that person, if I don't think about you. But number two, if I don't post enough content to actually understand what you watch, what you don't watch, what points you need to hear from me, what points you don't need to hear from me. You understand what I mean? So by simply going from scroller to poster, everything changed very quickly. My energy levels, better. My confidence, better. My learning curve, increasing or decreasing? I don't know which one, but I'll look it up later. All because I decided that if nothing changes, then nothing changes. A big goal for this year is to funnel a ton of you guys into Sermont, the school of life that I have, and the link's in the bio. The whole point, though, right, is that I'm posting content to grow my business. Part of my business is helping people transform their identities. Step into the identity that makes success inevitable. And I love that shit, bro. I love talking about that shit. Because a big part of doing that is simply taking action. Simply understanding that if nothing changes, then nothing changes. But once you change your identity, that's when everything else changes. Because that's exactly what I did. About, what day is it right now? It's January 12th. You know, bro, December 25th, so not a couple days ago, a couple weeks ago at this point. Damn, it's already January 13th? 12th? That's insane. It's 5:13, that's why. I actually got a call at 6 o'clock. Anyway, December 25th, I think, yeah, the night of Christmas, I sat down and I really took a look at my life and where it is right now and where I want it to be. And I'm not going to lie. I made some good progress this year in different areas of my life, but realistically, business is an area that I know I'm taking off with in 2026. And it's that next part of my life that I really need to lock in on. But, it got me thinking. I was thinking about my identity and I produced a lot of content this year. I think I posted like 400 times. Yeah, I think it was like right over 400 times on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I got like 4,000 tweets, which those numbers need to be bumped up. I produced a lot in 2025, but not to the extent that I could have, and not to the extent that I should have, and certainly not to the level of expertise that I could have. Because I was only thinking about myself, realistically. I was never really thinking about who I'm talking to and why they should listen to me. If I'm even qualified to be listened to, what makes my message interesting, all that bullshit. I was way too much of a consumer, way too much of a taker, when in reality, a big part of this operation here is being a giver. And giving, that's what producers do. Consumers don't give, bro. They might give their money to businesses. They might give their money to creators. But in all reality, all they're doing is just consuming for their own good because they're addicted to it. And God knows that. God sees that clear as day, even if you don't. So the moral of the story is, yes, correct. If nothing changes, nothing changes. But in all reality, you need to construct an identity built around the version of yourself that you want to become. Because then your mindset shifts from consumer into producer. And because of that, your behavior changes. You no longer identify as someone who needs quick dopamine by just scrolling their thumb an inch, jerking off, drinking, smoking, doing nicotine, I don't care what it is, overeating, gluttony. Your mindset changes into being an action taker, a doer. And because of that, your results, they change. They change for the better. God is not going to sit there and punish someone who changed their life. He's not. He might put them through challenges. He might put them through tribulations. He might send some difficult moments, some learning curves, some failures, some wins, some negative people, some positive people, some jobs they hate along the way to shape them into even a better producer. But you're not going to get punished for changing, even if it feels like that in the short term. So, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is if you need to watch that podcast where Theo Von drops, if nothing changes, great. But on the contrary, on the second side, open up a notebook and write down the version of yourself that you want to become. Because until you do that, you have no idea what you're shooting for. And again, nothing's going to change. If you feel like you need help with finding out the blueprint, finding out the system, finding out what to do, if you need accountability with that, take a look at my school and join it. It's right in the link in my description right here. Because basically what I go over is not only changing your identity, but your mindset, your body, your habits, everything you need to actually make a change. Go from consumer into producer, whether it be in the gym, whether it even be posting content, whether it be confidence. I don't care what it is. That's what the community is there for. That's why I called it the Sermon School of Life. Because the point is that we may have learned a little bit of life, but you don't really and truly learn life until you put yourself into the fire and you become a producer. Because if you're a consumer, you're doing nothing but observing from the sidelines. Hopefully that helped, guys, and I will definitely see you on Wednesday for the next video.